I'm so bad at selling these books. They're good books, that's why I'm telling you to read them. Hello humans, I'm Cassie Sinclair, and this is a list of book recommendations for all your quarantine entertainment needs. I've chosen some books that I don't often see recommended online, so without further ado, let's get into it. The first one is Tom's Midnight Garden by Philippa Pearce. It's not fantasy, but it's magic kind of thing. I remember reading it in primary school. I took it out of the library and I was in love with it immediately. It's about a boy called Tom who goes to stay with his aunt and uncle in a flat, like a house that's been turned into flats, and doesn't have a garden. But then he hears the grandfather clock in the hall strike 13, and he runs downstairs and finds that there is a garden, and all sorts of shenanigans ensue, and it's really cute, and the ending gets me every time. It's just... Number 2, another old one, Back Home by Michelle Magorian. You might have heard of one of her more well-known books is Goodnight Mr. Tom, which I think more people will have heard of through school. They're both wartime novels. This is set after the war, when Rusty comes home from being evacuated to America and has to readjust to living at home with her mum, who doesn't really recognise her anymore because she's grown up for so long in America. It was interesting to explore coming home from the war from a civilian's point of view, and it's a nice book. It's really cool. I really like Rusty's character. It's really interesting, and the relationship and the dynamic between her and her mum is really well written. I think it's such an interesting dynamic. Number 3 is onto some series. Skullduggery Pleasant, which I love. Just above my head, you can't see, but just above my head I have a whole stack, and my friend bought a signed copy of the latest one for my birthday. Thank you so much, Jamie. I was very upset. It was the whole thing because he's from Ireland and I thought Ireland and he was in Norwich, and I was like, I was so upset that we got to Ireland. It was the whole thing. Jamie got me a signed copy and I read it. It's about the skeleton detective. He's a skeleton. It's very cool. And then you've also got Stephanie, who is the protagonist of the book. One of the taglines is a dead famous bestseller, and then on the back it says, meet Skullduggery Pleasant, detective, magician, warrior, oh yes, and dead. And it's about Stephanie ending up in this world of magic that's existed right under her feet the whole time, and it's so cool. Derek Landy's writing is really good. I really love his humour. There's a lot of comedy in there, and it's really cool. And all the characters are cool. As I said, it's a series. There are currently 12 books, I believe. So this one is the first one. The later ones get a bit longer, but we don't know how long we're going to be stuck inside, so it'll keep you occupied at least. Number 4, another series, Artemis Fowl. Right. So more people are talking about it at the moment because of the film that Disney is coming out with. The trailer has been released recently. And I am so dubious, so doubtful. I can hope, but I feel like it's going to be another Percy Jackson situation. So in the meantime, I'm just going to stick to the books because the books are amazing. Artemis Fowl by Owen Colfer, that's how you pronounce his name. It's an Irish name. Oh, these are both Irish authors, and they're both set in Ireland. Artemis Fowl. So Artemis Fowl is the titular character. He's a 12-year-old criminal genius, which incredible. It's about fairies, okay, but super cool fairies, and leprechauns aren't a species of fairy. It stands for the Lower Elements Police Reconnaissance Squad, and it's just so good. The dynamic that develops between Holly and Artemis in the later books I really enjoy. This is a really good introduction to Owen Colfer's fairies and to Artemis himself, and also other characters including Butler and Juliet. Butler is Artemis' bodyguard, and Juliet is his sister. And Mulch, the troll, who is amazing. Moving on. Number 5. Howl's Moving Castle. A lot of you will know the film, the Studio Ghibli film. The book is pretty much completely different, but I adore them both equally. I think I prefer Sophie's character in the book. I think she's got a bit more agency and she's a lot more forceful, and I really enjoy that. The way the plot ties together with all the different people, it's explained a lot better in the book. I think they just didn't have time in the film, because in the film it just ends and they're like, yeah, this fixed everything because reasons, bye. But in the book you get it all tied through. And I've also read the second one, which is Castle in the Air, but I have yet to read the third one. Number 6 is the series beginning How to Train Your Dragon, which again people will know from the film, which again completely different. I don't have a physical copy of the first book, so I chose my favourite to show you. This is How to Speak Dragonese by Cressida Clow, which is the third volume. So the conceit of these books is that they were written by Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III and only translated by Cressida Clow. So translated from the Old Norse by Cressida Clow. Cressida. I didn't start reading these in order, so you can pick them up wherever and just be involved, but I much prefer Toothless in the books than in the films, because in the films he's just this big dragon, like he's cute or whatever, but in the books he's a tiny little dragon that sulks in Hiccup's helmet all day, every day, and just complains about everything because he's a little brat. And obviously Dragonese is what the dragons speak, and Hiccup is like the only person who can speak Dragonese, so he can understand Toothless, but no one else can. So Hiccup just has this constant bratty conversation in his ear the whole time, and it's so good. And I also enjoy the character of Kamikaze, who isn't in the film. I believe she was replaced by Astrid. Number 7, I think. I'll put it somewhere if I get it wrong. Dragon Skin Slippers by Jessica Day George. This, I don't think I've ever seen anyone else talk about this. I loved this book. It's about the dragons are just so cool in this book. So Creel is, she's staying with her aunt, and her aunt can't afford to look after her anymore, so she tries to sacrifice her to a dragon and leaves Creel outside the dragon's cave, and they're all expecting Creel to get eaten. But then Theoradus comes out, the dragon, and like big and massive, and he's like, oh, what are you doing here? And she says, aren't you going to eat me? And he's like, no, I just want to collect my shoes. And basically every dragon has a different hoard, has something that they hoard, and Theoradus is shoes, and Creel manages to make a deal with him. He wants to get rid of her, but she doesn't have anything, so he says he'll give her a pair of shoes and she can walk to the city. She chooses a pair of shoes, and they're these fancy dragon skin slippers. She goes to the city, and on the way she meets a couple more dragons, and in the city she works as a seamstress, and meets a duke and duchess, and it's a whole thing, and there's like royal intrigue and politics and then dragon politics, and it's a whole thing. It's really good. I really like it. Number 8. The name of this book is Secret by Pseudonymous Bosch. This was the first time I heard about synesthesia, which features quite heavily as a plot point of this book. It's really interesting. The conceit of this book is that it's a true story that this guy, Pseudonymous Bosch, is writing by a pseudonym because he has to write anonymously, and none of the characters in the book go by their real names. He's chosen different names for them. Occasionally throughout the narrative he'll tell you to stop reading because it's dangerous for the characters, it's dangerous for you, and it's about these two kids who find a secret magician's diary and then basically run into this cult who are trying to find the secret to eternal youth. And it's really interesting, like the ideas. So there are actually 5 books in the series, but I've only read 3 of them. So I've read, the name of this book is Secret. I've read If You're Reading This It's Too Late, which out of the 3 is probably my favourite. And This Book Is Not Good For You. The 4th one is called This Isn't What It Looks Like, and the 5th one is called You Have to Stop This. And I just really like the framing of the narrative. Number 9, I again don't have a physical copy of. I got it on my library's ebook downloader thing on Overdrive. It's called Not Your Sidekick by C.B. Lee. It's the first in a trilogy, and it's about a post-apocalyptic America where people have developed superpowers as a result of nuclear fallout at some point, but only a few people, and they have to register to become superheroes. And all of Jess's family, most of her family, so her parents and her older sister, have registered powers, but she hasn't, and she's very distressed by this. But then she gets an internship at a tech company, and shenanigans ensue. It's very gay, which makes it extra wonderful. I haven't read the next 2, but I've borrowed them, ready to read. Honestly, I finished this one in about 2 hours, which is the first time I've done that in a long while. It was like the first day of the lockdown, and I just whizzed through it. I enjoyed it so much. The last recommendation I have is less of a single book, but I believe an imprint. So it's called Point Horror. This is my Point Horror collection. I've got a whole pile of them up on my shelf. I don't really do horror, but I really love point horror books. My favourite is Twins, which I believe is also by Diane Ho, which is one of the featured authors of this book. So if you're into horror, I would recommend these. There's a whole load of them. I enjoy them. Again, like all the others on this thing, I wouldn't be giving you recommendations if I didn't enjoy them. But that's 10-ish books that I gift to you as suggestions of what to read while you're home. That's all from me. Goodbye from your favourite creature Cassie. I'll see you next time. Bye!